The following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
Coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Pro Wrestling Report, prime time right here on My 24 Milwaukee. We have part 2 of our exclusive interview with Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff. Also, a look back at WWE Elimination Chamber, Raw, Smackdown, and Impact Wrestling from this past week. Point, Counterpoint, Star of the Week, and the History Book, looking back at WWE No Way Out 2003. The Pro Wrestling Report starts right now, right here on My 24 Milwaukee.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report, PrimeTime TV, the longest-running pro wrestling news program in the world, with your hosts, David Hero and Damian Nelson.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report, prime time, right here on My 24 Milwaukee. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Octavius and Tiberius, the alleged backyard one-time Hall of Fame Knockouts Divas Hardcore Champion, Hall of Famer, Hero. Hello, David.
What did you do here?
Well, business has been good.
I mean, my gosh, it's like new set, new threads. Amazing.
Let's get right to it, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to talk about this week's WWE news, and the top story for WWE would be what happened this past Monday night on Raw. David Hero, we talked about the significance of 2 men in the business right now and how they overshadow a lot of other men in the business. Those 2 men being Triple H and The Undertaker. The match is made for WrestleMania. Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania, Sun Life Stadium. Triple H accepts after The Undertaker says to Triple H that he knows he's not as good as Shawn Michaels, which is why he would not accept the matchup. This was a heated exchange between these 2 men, and really did prove a point you've been making for weeks.
These 2 guys are the best in the world at what they do, and that's cutting promos and getting people invested. Hell in a Cell is normally the main event. It's always the headliner of any pay-per-view. Now it's the top 3 or 4 match at WrestleMania, making WrestleMania Miami the biggest WrestleMania possibly in the last 10 to 15 years.
Really?
Absolutely.
Bigger than Rock Hogan, rather.
Well, Rock Hogan was amazing because you had the new WCW stars in there as well. You had, Hall and Nash and Jericho and Triple H and Austin and Rock and Hogan and Booker T and DDP. And as far as star power, that may have been the best, but this one here is going to have 2 of the most dynamic, or 3 of the most dynamic matches in a long time.
There was more discussion about the end of an era and the fact that Triple H and The Undertaker feel that them, along with Shawn Michaels, represent a dying breed in professional wrestling. We're going to talk much more about this over the course of the next few weeks because this really is an interesting argument to have. It seems
as if... It's not an argument, it's a fact.
I think it's an arguable point, but it seems as if Triple H has relegated himself to the fact that the business is evolving in such a way that not necessarily how they present the business, but the talent that they have available to them to build the business around.
Do you think he feels it's evolving or it's going backwards?
I think he totally feels it's going backwards. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it at all. In addition to determining that it would be a Hell in a Cell matchup at WrestleMania between The Undertaker and Triple H, we found out who CM Punk's opponent will be at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship after a 10-man battle royal. Chris Jericho, as many people expected, is going to WrestleMania, and he's got a World Wrestling Entertainment Championship matchup with CM Punk. David Hero, this battle royal resulted in the injury of Wade Barrett, who's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks missing WrestleMania. But Chris Jericho, the man who wins, and now full speed ahead between him and Punk to Miami.
Do you think so far Chris Jericho's return has been a failure?
Not at all.
He didn't win the Rumble. He didn't win the Chamber. He wins a battle royal to now face CM Punk. But he's done really nothing spectacular to get there.
But he didn't win all that because maybe, just maybe, he's going to go into Miami and win the WWE Championship.
He very well could, but if he goes into Miami and beats CM Punk, that takes away all the steam, all the money, all the investment, all the accolades, all the amazing pipe bomb promos that they've put in Punk in almost the past 8 months.
More so than when he lost the belt at SummerSlam to Alberto Del Rio and then regained it in November?
That was a complete screw job. That brought in an arc. It brought in another angle, another storyline to go forward with. It was Punk against the world, and then all of a sudden the world won, and then eventually he got it back. Going against Jericho, he needs to beat Chris Jericho. But does Chris Jericho come back to just win one Battle Royal? I don't know.
I think that Chris Jericho has been incredibly effective, and I still am looking very much forward to the dialogue between CM Punk and Chris Jericho getting up to WrestleMania. Going forward, getting there is going to be the most fun of this battle, and then they're going to be able to present a great wrestling matchup in the ring.
But they need to get rolling now. They are less than 40 days away from WrestleMania, and there's been no dynamic. There's been nothing special about the two of them yet.
Speaking of getting rolling as we move right along, John Cena rolled right over Eve this past Monday night in a very aggressive promo where he whipped out some words that we're not going to repeat here on My 24, but man, was it shades of the old John Cena, who David Hero at one point said to the camera, "I'm back."
Well, he needs to be back. He needs to get that edge. He needs to get some fire because he's going to be competing with the most electrifying man, The Rock. And The Rock has creative freedom to say and do what he wants.
No, if you listen to John Cena, his promos are all written.
Well, it may be so, but so are John Cena's. And let's just say this, they need to throw some gas on the fire between Cena and The Rock, because right now, going into WrestleMania, it's probably 70-30 the fans are behind The Rock.
We're going to talk much more about The Rock versus Cena in our online extension of the Pro Wrestling Report, PrimeTime at pwrshow.com. 5 more minutes, because this is a dynamic that was started on our radio program this past Monday night, and it warrants a bit more discussion about why, indeed, this particular matchup is one of the most important things that's going to happen on April 1st in Miami, Florida. That was Raw this past Monday night. An excellent show, by the way, in my opinion. One that did so much in 2 hours' time. The road to WrestleMania is clear, and next week, The Rock is going to be on Raw, and several weeks thereafter. This is really a ton of momentum WWE started with this past Monday's Raw and this past Tuesday's live Super Smackdown. An amazing matchup between Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, one which saw both men win, both men lose, and shenanigans from Johnny Ace and Teddy Long.
And it's what a way to elevate Daniel Bryan Danielson without really hurting CM Punk. They're making DBD a legitimate WrestleMania contender.
Much like the last match the two of them had, no real clear winner over the other, but this match really did a lot to propel both of them further up the card, because even though there were shenanigans, there was great wrestling.
And they're both great wrestlers. They're both great in-ring technicians. And like I said, CM Punk and Daniel Bryan Danielson, the two champions from each brand, should not have to lose to each other.
We also heard a lot on Super Smackdown about the controversy created between CM Punk and Chris Brown. We're going to talk about that in 5 more minutes as well. But that is this week's WWE Report. Still to come here on the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime, part 2 of that exclusive interview with Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. A look back at this past Sunday's WWE Elimination Chamber on pay-per-view. Star of the Week, Point Counterpoint, and the history book looking back at WWE No Way Out 2003. Pro Wrestling Report Primetime right here on My 24 Milwaukee continues after these words.
Saturday, March 31st. History will be made for internet wrestling fans. 3 of the biggest shows for wrestling commentary will come together for a WrestleMania weekend special. Pro Wrestling Report's Damian Nelson and David Hero will join with Aftermath's Artur O'Cal and Jimmy Corderas, who will join with Chairshot Reality's Justin LaBar and Josh Eisenberg for a WrestleMania special weekend. Friday from 7 till close, join the 3 shows at the 2nd annual Kevin Nash WrestleMania party at Ocean's 10. VIP tickets are $99. General admission ticket is $15. Tickets can be purchased at pwrshow.com. Saturday, history will be made as the 3 shows come together on camera. 1 p.m. at Shuckers Bar and Grill. Come be a part of the taping for the WrestleMania special that will air WrestleMania Sunday on WrestleZone.com. All ages are welcome to come get their face on camera during the taping, then hang out with the whole crew on the beautiful patio at Shuckers Bar and Grill.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report, primetime television, right here on My 24 Milwaukee. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero. And this past Sunday was WWE Elimination Chamber. We've got an update on the Pro Wrestling Report Fantasy Draft. And David, pay close attention because it was a substantial moment Sunday night. At the Elimination Chamber, David Hero was able to score 90 points. While I was able to pick up 165 points. Ladies and gentlemen, the man now in the lead in the Pro Wrestling Report Fantasy Draft is this guy with a total of 2,815 points to David Hero's 2,770 points.
So I'm still winning?
To you and to your... No, you're not winning. You're down by 45 points. To you and your little friend Mike Wickett, see what happens when you mess with the blue team. You end up getting screwed.
How does that happen? You just said I had the most points.
I didn't say that. You got 90 Sunday, and you have 2770. I got 165, and I have 2815.
So
Basic arithmetic.
I'm still in first place. I get to pick up somebody for Wade Barrett, who injured his arm. Who do I take? I need a WrestleMania guy.
Well, whoever it is, they're going to be injured within 2 weeks.
How about The Undertaker? Hell in a
great.
Cell.
Of course.
Put the streak bonus
Easy
points.
pickings, easy pickings. But you know what? Fine. I got Sting, who's in the main event at the upcoming TNA pay-per-view.
He's not going to win.
Doesn't matter. It's still pay-per-view points, main event points. And my champion's preserved. It'll be fine. I'm not at all worried.
Your champions are preserved?
I'm not at all worried. Let's go now, ladies and gentlemen, to part 2 of our interview with Paul Orndorff. Mr. Wonderful has a lot more to say. Let's go to that previously recorded interview right now.
The following is a special presentation from the Pro Wrestling
and you talk
Report.
about making people hate you. And arguably you were, and probably still are, one of the most hated men in professional wrestling as it pertains to fans. And back in the day where you really had to worry about your own personal safety, what was your scariest moment as it pertains to fans and them trying to get after you, whether it be in an arena or maybe just outside of the wrestling world?
Well, I had my wife with me, and I ain't going to say the city.
Was it Milwaukee?
No. No, but it it could have been if I'd been here more often. But somebody threw a bottle and hit me, and I got like 20-something stitches, 26 stitches inside. I've had a gun pulled on me. Wow. And I say pulled on me. They showed me the gun, let them know that they had stuff like that. Yeah. And it really happened, throwing bottles in. I had darts thrown into the ring. The darts you throw in
right.
They threw them in the ring, and they just missed me. Yeah. And stuff like that. And people took it to me, and people hated me. Mm-hmm. They truly hated me. And I'm good at making people hate me. I mean, that's my wife.
It takes skill and it takes talent, and that skill and talent was recognized. You were inducted into the World Wrestling Entertainment Hall of Fame.
And
there's the... Yeah.
No, that's Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame.
And out in Las Vegas, Nevada?
No, this was in New York, out of New York.
Fantastic.
There's only 33 in this one.
A beautiful ring.
It's the one that I'm most proud of.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about that because there's been discussion, or we've heard anyways, things about how you felt about that induction into the WWE Hall of Fame. Yeah. And I think in addition to getting the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame there, a moment that was captured by WWE and put out on TV all over the world, but you weren't as happy with that as many people may have expected you to be.
Well, it's not the same, This ring here, there's a panel, and you get voted on if you get in this, just like the regular Football Hall of Fame. I'm in my college Football Hall of Fame, the one that John Matuszak, me and John played together. Yeah. John's in it, and I'm in myself. But you in this, you get voted in. You're not selected by the boss,
right?
Or kissing somebody's butt to get there. Mm-hmm. No, and to me, that's why. Thank you for the ring, but this one's the one.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, I leave it in the drawer. Matter of fact, I got a guy that wants to buy it. I think I'm going to sell it.
What's the opening bid on that ring?
I don't know.
Well, no matter what, and you're definitely right, and we've heard a lot of feedback about the WWE Hall of Fame, and there are many others, including that one. And to be voted on by a board, I mean, really, you have to honor that a lot more because it is judged on, and it is legit, as you said. It's not just a selection. Deservedly so, being inducted into those Hall of Fames. Paul Orndorff, as a fan growing up, I remember the WrestleManias, I remember all the great days, and I remember hating you I remember just hating your guts, but I wanted to tune in to see who was going to get you. And really, that's what it's all about.
That is the element that is lost today, is that I can take, over the years, I was taught and watched and listened how to put people in the seats, not the office saying, here's the seat. It don't work that way. You got to give them a reason to be in the seat. And that's what we were taught to do. That's how I was taught to do. And I did my own little thing in my own little way, and it worked. Because, first of all, I wanted to be different than every other wrestler that ever put a pair of tights on. Yeah. And I think I was. Totally different than anybody else. I don't think there's been anybody that had the energy, the aggressiveness, quite frankly, the body. And that was a true-blooded athlete.
And it showed in the ring.
Think about it. And that's bragging? Call it what you want.
It's not bragging when it's right.
But it's the truth. And people hate the truth. You know that.
They really do. Believe me, they do. I know that. Paul Orndorff, it is really an honor to be able to sit here and talk to you and hear about your perspective on professional wrestling and what made you what you were. And I want to thank everybody here in Milwaukee for tuning in to the Pro Wrestling Report. Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful, our guest.
Well, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff right here in part 2 of that interview, and doesn't seem to be very favorable of his standing in the WWE Hall of Fame, which is no secret to a lot of people, but I don't know.
Not?
Are you going to buy the ring?
No, I'm not going to buy the ring. I have my own Hall of Fame ring.
Clearly it means a lot to you because you're not wearing it.
It's Cal has
in your dresser drawer?
Yes, absolutely.
Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, thank you very much for the time, and thank you very much for being on this program. You can see a lot more. You can see a lot more interviews from the Pro Wrestling Report at our website, pwrshow.com, in the interview section. But with that in mind, it's time to move along to this week's selection by David Hero for Star of the Week.
This week's PWR Star of the Week is the coffee-drinking Harvard graduate.
What?
Johnny Ace's right-hand man, David Otunga.
2 wins over Big Z?
He got 2 wins over a former ECW World and Intercontinental Champion. Clean pinfalls. This guy is on his way to superstardom. Might very well have a match at WrestleMania, and the way he's going, may headline WrestleMania next year in New York. So once again, this week's PWR Star of the Week is the very capable David Hudson.
Otunga.
Well, he married Jennifer Hudson, right? I think
He doesn't take her name.
Well, he should have.
Well, that's this week's Star of the Week, ladies and gentlemen, and the Pro Wrestling Report continues on, and still to come is a look back at this past Sunday's Elimination Chamber on pay-per-view, Point, Counterpoint, and the History Book, looking back at WWE No Way Out 2003.
Miami, South Beach, the biggest wrestling event of the year, bikinis, booze, and beaches, and the biggest wrestling party ever. The Pro Wrestling Report presents the Shenanigans Beach Party, hosted by Big Sexy Kevin Nash and Sean X-Pac Waltman. Join us at one of the best clubs on South Beach, Ocean's 10, located at 960 Ocean Drive, on Friday, March 30th, starting at 7 p.m. for live music, bands, drinks, and a ton of shenanigans. The Shenanigans Beach Party will feature appearances by Billy Gunn, TNA TV champion Robbie E., former WWE Tag Team Champions The Headbangers, Shane Hurricane Helms, along with others, and special appearances by Arda Ocal and Jimmy Corderas of The Score, Justin LaBar, and Josh Eisenberg of Chairshot's Reality, and the PWR team of Damian Nelson, David Hero, and the Coyote Ugly Calendar Girl, Linda Kay. Tickets for the biggest wrestling party ever are on sale now at pwrshow.com and start at just $15. VIP tickets, which include a private meet and greet along with early access, are available for only $99 each, but quantities are very limited, so buy now. Tickets are going fast for the PWR Shenanigans Beach Party, so buy yours now only at pwrshow.com. And don't miss out on the biggest wrestling party ever. Hosted by Kevin Nash and Sean Waltman.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report, primetime here on My 24 Milwaukee. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero. What's your problem? You're looking at me like that. Is there something wrong with?
No, just the set. There's a different glare. Can't figure it out.
Feeling a little blue this week?
No, I'm feeling great.
Let's talk about Ring of Honor Wrestling, historic episode just airing here on My 24 Milwaukee because it featured the very first Ring of Honor World Championship defense on Sinclair Broadcasting on Sinclair stations across the country. Ring of Honor champion Davey Richards one-on-one with the television champion Jay Lethal. There would be shenanigans, but there is not a new world champion. Davey Richards retains the title. And this is interesting, David, because you've always looked at the United States Championship as next in line to the World. Intercontinental is next in line to the WWE. Ring of Honor features a match tonight where the Intercontinental basically champion goes up against the WWE basically champion, Jay Lethal, Davey Richards. A great match, two great talents.
Two guys that can go.
And the focus definitely going forward into the big WrestleMania weekend shows that Ring of Honor is going to be having, as you saw, involvement in that matchup by the Embassy, the House of Truth, and others. Was this match clouded by the shenanigans involved with it? Should it have been a straight wrestling match between Davey Richards and Jay Lethal, or is this the way they should have gone?
Well, you don't want to give away such a great match with two great guys where you have to have
like Punk and Bryan on
finish.
SmackDown?
So if you throw in a bunch of shenanigans and more shenanigans, it clouds the whole thing, so then the fans don't get the great match for free, which means they want to tune in later, maybe on pay-per-view, to see what really happens.
Internet pay-per-view.
Absolutely.
Well, that's this week's Ring of Honor report, and now it's time to go to this week's Point Counterpoint. Ready for this, David?
Wrong. Yes.
The question this week is, should we see a matchup between Cody Rhodes and Goldust at WrestleMania? Many have been lobbying for this matchup, including Goldust himself. And Andy, give me 30 seconds on the clock so I can go ahead and make the point as to why they should. Cody Rhodes is an uprising star in World Wrestling Entertainment. He's the Intercontinental Champion. He's held the title for a very long time, beating Big Zeke to be the champion. Goldust has been out on the sidelines for a number of months. The brotherly battle would be tremendous at WrestleMania, especially given the fact that you got to imagine Cody Rhodes would win that matchup, but is Goldust going to be ready to come back from that shoulder injury in time for WrestleMania in Miami? I think that this would do great for both Cody and for Goldust.
WrestleMania should not be about Cody Rhodes and Goldust. The last time wrestling fans cared about any brother versus brother match was Kane versus Taker and Roddy Piper versus Bad News Brown. Other than that, no one wants to see brothers fight. Cody Rhodes needs to go to WrestleMania and take on the Big Show. If he wants to go to the top of the mountain, if he wants to become a legitimate top star, you got to beat the biggest man on the planet. That's the Big Show. Not a guy that hasn't been on TV in a couple years. Not a guy that hasn't been in WrestleMania in again.
It's a wonder that thing's still here. When they were building this, I had given explicit orders to get rid of that ridiculous gimmick.
It's amazing what your Amex can do.
Isn't it, though? Yeah, don't I know it. Accounting needs to speak with you still after Sweet and Sexy this past Sunday at the Elimination Chamber in Milwaukee. This past Sunday at WWE Elimination Chamber at Milwaukee's Bradley Center. Well, let's stop for a minute and congratulate the city of Milwaukee, the state of Wisconsin. What a house at the Bradley Center this past Sunday night.
That was a sold-out Bradley Center.
Legitimate sellout crowd.
The Bucks can't do that in 5 games.
I don't think I've seen that since No Way Out 2003, 2?
Yeah, well,
2002?
Hogan was there.
A great atmosphere, a great energy level, and a crowd that was firmly behind Santino Marella in that Smackdown Chamber matchup. However, it would be Daniel Bryan who would retain the World Championship.
What a great job by Santino Marella. Got 17,000 plus behind him chanting Santino, only to fall short to the LeBell Lock and your world champion, Daniel Bryan Danielson.
Two people shine in the Raw Chamber matchup. Firstly, The Miz and then Kofi Kingston. Yes, indeed, Kofi Kingston receiving a few staples to his head as a result of this matchup. But again, though, their efforts would not be enough to overcome CM Punk, who is still the WWE champion.
CM Punk, amazing. Chris Jericho gets counted out, eliminated but not being eliminated.
Injured but not injured?
Or is that way of Chris Jericho's way of not doing business and
He didn't lose the match.
He did not lose the match. Did not get pinned. Did not tap.
However, Kane did lose the match as John Cena defeated him in what was the final matchup on the card, the main event and ambulance match. And we have proceeded beyond that particular feud between those two. And as you said, thank you for that, because I think all we needed was that ambulance match at the Elimination Chamber this past Sunday. Overall, a good event. Good job, WWE. And as was announced at that event, WWE returns to Milwaukee's Bradley Center on August 27th for Monday Night Raw. And yes, indeed, the Pro Wrestling Report will be bringing you another opportunity to join us in the sweet and sexy Milwaukee, August 27th. More details coming soon. TNA Wrestling, David Hero, it's time to talk about this week's happenings over on the Impact side of things. And, Impact ended strongly with an announcement of the main event for the next pay-per-view, Victory Road. It will be Sting versus Bobby Roode. I'm a little surprised by that, especially since Sting has not been in an active wrestling role for quite a few months.
Why does Sting want to get in the ring with Bobby Roode?
Well, last week after Impact, he sent out that tweet that said, "I'm done." A lot of people wondering what that meant. Well, Sting explaining it this week, saying he's done dealing with the crap of Bobby Roode, and he wants to get in and take care of business.
You know, then let it be like a no-holds-barred match. Let's not have it for the TNA World Championship. Let it just be a fight. Let these two guys settle the differences. Sting doesn't need a title around his waist. Let Bobby Roode grow and become a stronger heel. Let him beat Sting. Let him do something special.
What would something special be?
Beat Sting in a no-holds-barred match. Gets more heat on him. Makes his match the following month with James Storm in Lockdown mean more.
And that match has been announced. James Storm versus Bobby Roode for the TNA Championship at Lockdown in Nashville, Tennessee. Memphis? Nashville?
Nashville.
Somewhere down there. And exactly right. This gives Bobby Roode...
How many times have you been to Nashville?
I've never been to Nashville. I've been to Memphis several times.
We'll be there this year.
Been to Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah, Louisville, Kentucky. Last night, Al Snow, red carpet premiere.
Jesse Sorensen update, ladies and gentlemen. We talked about on this program Jesse Sorensen suffering a pretty bad injury, one that was actually life-threatening. He has been released from the hospital and is going to be in recovery and rehab over the next several months. And as we talked about last week, David Hero, speculation as to whether or not he should get back into the professional wrestling business after such a scare.
There's no reason to do it.
Almost being paralyzed or killed.
He's a young kid, good-looking guy. I'm sure he can do something else.
That's this week's TNA Report, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go now into the history book. And this week we take a look back at an event that happened about the same time in 2003. February 22nd, 2003 was the date, actually. And the event was WWE No Way Out. This one featured a rematch between Hulk Hogan and The Rock.
The Rock.
From WrestleMania the year before, which saw shenanigans as Sylvain Grenier was the special guest referee. The Rock hits Hogan with a chair, and then the 3 count, The Rock wins, but again, surrounded in controversy.
I'll never understand why the guy from La Resistance was involved in that match.
You'll never understand?
No, it didn't make any sense. They did nothing with the guy after that.
Well, somebody needed to screw over Hogan.
Yeah, but let it be Vinnie Mac or Bischoff or somebody else.
Well, Bischoff was actually busy that night because it was him in a matchup against Stone Cold Steve Austin. Remember that? There was so much talk going into that. This was after Austin had walked out and then come back to the company. And he goes in, and remember, Bischoff was the man that fired him via FedEx from WCW. And this was the first time really Austin had his chance to stick it to him, and stick it to him he did.
3 times.
3 stunners to end that matchup. A great, not a great match, but a great exhibition between those two men at that pay-per-view No Way Out. Triple H pinned Scott Steiner to retain the World Heavyweight Championship at this pay-per-view as well, David.
Boy, they really thought they had something special with Scott Steiner.
Well, he was the big bad booty daddy.
I mean, you know, he came in, the fans went nuts, and when they realized that he had lost more than a step, they turned on him pretty quick.
Absolutely. Was he there for a cup of coffee or 2?
At least 2.
2? That's this week's history book looking back at WWE No Way Out 2003. I want to remind you to check us out online at pwrshow.com as we talk much more about this week in professional wrestling in our extended edition of Primetime called 5 More Minutes. So, we'll see you next week right here on My 24 Milwaukee. Until then, we'll see you at pwrshow.com for that one. This is Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Miami. South Beach, the biggest wrestling event of the year. Bikinis, booze, and beaches. and the biggest wrestling party ever. The Pro Wrestling Report presents the Shenanigans Beach Party, hosted by Big Sexy Kevin Nash and Sean X-Pac Waltman. Join us at one of the best clubs on South Beach, Ocean's 10, located at 960 Ocean Drive, on Friday, March 30th, starting at 7 p.m. for live music, bands, drinks, and a ton of shenanigans. The Shenanigans Beach Party will feature appearances by Billy Gunn, TNA TV champion Robbie E., former WWE Tag Team Champions The Headbangers, Shane Hurricane Helms, along with others, in special appearances by Arda Ocal and Jimmy Corderas of The Score, Justin LaBar, and Josh Eisenberg of Chairshot's Reality, and the PWR team of Damian Nelson, David Hero, and the Coyote Ugly Calendar Girl, Linda Kay. Tickets for the biggest wrestling party ever are on sale now at pwrshow.com and start at just $15. VIP tickets, which include a private meet and greet along with early access, are available for only $99 each, but quantities are very limited, so buy now. Tickets are going fast for the PWR Shenanigans Beach Party, so buy yours now only at pwrshow.com. And don't miss out on the biggest wrestling party ever. Hosted by Kevin Nash and Sean Waltman.